Introducing the Mr. Good Media. Put in the effort. Go the distance. The lend a hand man with a plan. Your host for the evening, John Clay. Let us explore the vastness of the internet, looking for information on anything from complex situations to fun facts. Ladies and gentlemen, turn up your sound and dive with us down the rabbit hole.
And good morning. Hope everyone's doing well. Today is 4/9/20. We're looking at Thursday. Feel free to hit us up, text us, or message us in our little chat. This will be saved onto YouTube for later if you're not catching it live right now. We will get it up sometime today. So hope y'all are doing all fine and dandy. And I started thinking about it and I was like, what do I want to talk about today? And one of my favorite topics I feel is kind of flow state, where you're in this most optimal position to learn and grow, and just improving yourself in that way. And so kind of going through what is flow state and how it can help us and improve us. Yeah, just kind of want to look into that. So I'm going to touch basis on that, and if anybody has any questions, concerns, comments, like I said, feel free to message. And then if you have another topic that you'd be interested in discussing today, let me know. And then of course we'll figure out something on this day in history that is fairly interesting. So we'll go from there. So let's get it to that screen, and we'll start talking. So, Google, what is flow state? So, what is flow? It is a mental state in which a person is engaged in an activity where they are fully immersed with a feeling of energized focus, involvement, and success in the process of activity. So, yeah, anytime that you're learning something and you feel like, oh man, I'm making progress, well, that's flow. How do you know you're there or getting there? Let's look. Choose work you love. Choose an important task. Make sure it's challenging but not too hard. Find your quiet peak time. Clear away distractions. Learn to focus on that task for as long as possible. Enjoy yourself, and then keep practicing. Let's see what else we can find here. There's 9 steps, so I read 8. I don't know. It was kind of funny that they cover that. Well, here, we'll read through this whole thing, this article. So this is zenhabits.net that we're looking at right now. It looks like by Leo Babauta. Sorry if I butchered your name and you ever see this, you're like, this guy cannot sound my name out. Yeah. So we'll go, let's just kind of read through this article. So he's talking, have you ever lost yourself in your work so much that you lost track of time? Being consumed by a task like that, while it can be rare for most people, is a state of being called flow. In my experience, it's one of the keys to happiness at work, and a nice side benefit is that not only reduces stress, and more. Um, the magical power of focus. When I wrote about the magical power of focus, okay, I promised to write more about how to achieve flow, a concept that is very much in vogue right now and something most of us have experienced at one time or another. Looking at flow, at what flow is. What is flow? Put simply, it's a state of mind you achieve when you're fully immersed in a task, forgetting about the outside world. It's a concept proposed by positive psychologist. I'm definitely not saying this name right, so just forgive me there. And we'll continue the sentence. And these days, you're likely to read about it on blogs and in all kinds of magazines. When you're in the state of flow, you are completely focused on the task at hand. Forget about yourself, about others, about the world around you. You lose track of time. feel happy and in control, and become creative and productive. One thing I love about flow is that it takes the very Zen concept of being completely in the moment and applies it to a work task. It's a concept I've talked a lot about here on Zen Habits, being in the moment, focusing completely on a single task, and finding a sense of calm and happiness in your work. So why it's important? It's an ability to single task is one of the keys to true productivity, not the kind of productivity where you knock off 20 items from your to-do list, although that can be satisfying, where you're switching between tasks all day and long and keep busy all the time. Yeah, that's something I have problems with where I'm like, oh, I gotta do this, this, and this. And then I'm like, let me put this all. I mean, I have Post-its galore of things I need to do. And I'm like, yes, I'm gonna get all these done. And I get so sidetracked. So it's definitely something I'm working on, is not overloading myself and trying to keep myself focused on what needs to be done and what's important in my life. The true productivity, I mean, is the kind where you actually achieve your goals, where you accomplish important and long-lasting things. As a writer, that might mean writing 1 or 2 important and memorable articles rather than 20 or 50 important ones that people will forget 5 minutes after reading them. It means getting key projects done rather than answering a bunch of emails, making a lot of phone calls, attending a bunch of meetings, and shuffling paperwork all day. It means closing key deals. It means quality instead of quantity. You lose yourself in those important and challenging tasks, and instead of being consistently interrupted by minor things, calls, emails, coworkers, etc. Just to touch on that, so there's a gentleman by the name of Brendon Burchard, and I've been listening to his audiobook. So I'm just stepping away for a second, and he actually talks about, figuring out what the real deadlines are. And the book, it's Successful Habits, Brendon Burchard. So trying to high performance habits. So I've enjoyed listening to it. I'd say reading, but I'm not good at reading. I just never find the time. While I'm in the car, I can always put on an audiobook, and I'll do that for at least 20 minutes to an hour every day, depending on where I'm driving and what I have going on. But he definitely does talk about prioritizing what is important and getting through what's needed and figuring out what actual deadlines are. So just something to sidetrack yourself to. If you ever have the time, check it out. So back to the task at hand. So let's see. So learning how to focus on the important projects, and then flow is how you get them done. You lose yourself in those important and challenging tasks, and instead of being constantly interrupted by minor things, calls, emails, etc., you are able to focus on the task long enough to actually complete them. Good idea. And then that helps you reduce your stress because you're actually getting things done. So, how to achieve flow and happiness in your work. So how do you achieve this mystical state of being? Do you need to meditate or chant anything? No. I think this is good for me because I have something I definitely need to get done today, and I'm like I need to focus on that. And I had this whole to-do list, and I was like, I want to get all this to-do list done. And then I'm like, no, just focus on getting this one thing done today. You can do it. So I think this is a good thing for me at this point in time today to really focus on. Here, give me 1 second. Let's see. Oh, yes, don't multitask too much. Quality over quantity. Okay. 1, choose work you love. Well, I'm not sure if I'm going to love what I have to get done today, but I'm going to go into it with a good attitude. So, bunch of paperwork, but we can get it done. So, I'm not sure if number 1 is going to be applicable for me today. We'll see. You might want to consider finding another job. That's something I've struggled with. I loved doing physical therapy, but there's some circumstances around it where I'm just not I'm not into it anymore. It's just not something I'm like. Certain patients that I've had, I'm like, yes, I want to help you, and I love helping them, and I can actually get into it. And then there's other people I'm like, I feel like I'm banging my head into a wall. That's the best way I can put it. Um, at any rate, be sure that whatever task you choose is something you can be passionate about. Choose an important task. There's work you love that's easy and unimportant, and then there's work you love that will make a long-term impact for your career. Choose the latter, as it will be much better use of your time and flow. Make sure it's challenging but not too hard. If it's a task is too easy, you'll be able to complete it without much thought or effort. A task should be challenging enough to require your full concentration. However, it is hard, you will find it difficult to lose yourself in it, as you'll spend most of your concentration just trying to figure out how to do it. Either that or you'll end up discouraged. It may take some trial and error and find tasks at the appropriate level of difficulty. Find your quiet peak time. This is actually 2 steps grouped into one. First, you'll want to find a time that's quiet, or you'll never be able to focus. For me, that's mornings. That's when I think it's the easiest for me too. It's just, man, I'm not too big on waking up early. I mean, I understand the importance of it. I can appreciate it, but just gotta have some time to breathe before I really get going into anything. And yeah, so let's see. This might be early morning when you just wake up, when most people haven't arrived yet, are still getting their coffee and settling down, or you might try the lunch hour when people are usually out of the office. Evenings work well too for many people, or if you're lucky, you can do it at any time of the day if you can find a quiet spot to work in. Whatever time you choose, it should be a peak energy time for you. Some people get tired after lunch. It's not a good time for flow. Find a time when you have lots of energy and can concentrate. I'd say that's good morning. Like not first thing in the morning, but after like an hour and a half, like right now. I mean, that's one reason I started doing this at this time is because 7:30, to about, I want to say a 1, I feel like, man, I can just get anything done. So that's why I started doing this at that time. Clear away distractions. Aside from finding a quiet time and place to work, you'll want to clear away other distraction. That means turning off distracting music unless you find that music helps you focus. Turning off phones, emails, IM notifications, Twitter, and Growl. I don't even know what Growl is. No, I'm like, I'll have to look that up sometime. So write that down. What is Growl? And then, so anything else that might pop up, make noise, or interrupt your thoughts. I also find it helpful to clear my desk, even if that means sweeping miscellaneous papers into a folder to be sorted through later. Of course, these days there isn't anything on my desk, but I didn't always work like this. A clear desk helps immensely. Learn to focus on that task for as long as possible. This takes practice. You need to start on your chosen task and keep your focus on it for as long as you can. At first, many people will have difficulty if they're used to constantly switching between tasks, but keep trying and keep bringing your focus back to your task, you'll get better. And if you can keep your focus on that task with no distractions, if your task has been chosen well, something you love, something important, something challenging, you should lose yourself in flow. Let's see. Losing yourself in flow is an amazing thing. In my experience, it feels great to be able to really pour yourself into something worthwhile, to make great progress on a project or important task, to do something you're passionate about. Take the time to appreciate this feeling. Perhaps after the fact, it's hard to appreciate it while you're in flow. And then keep practicing. Again, this takes practice. Each step will take some practice, some from finding a quiet peak time for yourself to clearing distractions to choosing the right task, and especially keeping your focus on a task for a long time. But each time you fail, try to learn from it. Each time you succeed, you should also learn from it. What did you do right? And the more you practice, the better you'll get. Reap the rewards. Aside from the pleasure of getting into flow, you'll also be happier with your work overall. You'll get important stuff done. You'll complete stuff more often rather than starting and stopping frequently. All of this is usually satisfying and rewarding. Take the time to appreciate this and to continue to practice it every day. To be able to concentrate for considerable time is essential to difficult achievement. Bertrand Russell. I like it. Okay, so that's kind of flow where we're at. So we got like 10 minutes. We can go through and let's see. It's an interesting fact. And just so, here, we'll go back to that real fast because I want to just let people know again. That was zenhabits.net. So definitely check out that website, see if you can find more information that works for you. Might head back there later. So, on this day in history. So, April 9th. Probably good. More events on this day. Charles Wells, who was first in line of British throne, married Camilla Parker Bowles. Wow. Well, that's 2005. Year I graduated high school. Did not know that. In 2001, American Airlines officially completed its acquisition of Trans World Airlines and became the world's largest airline. Interesting. 1965, there you go. The Astrodome, an indoor stadium, opened in Houston, Texas, hosting its first baseball game. I used to go there all the time as a kid. It was pretty cool, actually. I actually went to the last in-season game of the Astros there, and even they went to the playoffs that year and had gone to a few of the playoff games. It's pretty neat, fun times. Going with my parents. And then 1963, an act of Congress conferred honorary U.S. citizenship to Sir Winston Churchill. Interesting. He's fairly old during World War II. I wonder how old. Now I'm curious as to the life of Winston Churchill. That's why I love this. I can just go and look up things. Winston Churchill died. When did he die? 1965. So he became an honorary member in 63, honorary citizen, and then died 2 years later. January 24th of 1965. He didn't make it too far into that year either. So, did Queen Elizabeth go to Churchill's funeral? Interesting. The plan was issued on 26th of 19. After his death by a decree, the body land and the order of funeral was held. Doesn't really like it says. Here's his question. It doesn't. I don't feel like it gives you a straight answer. I guess he died of a stroke. How many strokes did he die of? Looks like he had a few. 3. Interesting. Did the Queen sack Churchill? What? Oh man. Who was the spy in Buckingham? In 1959, NASA announced selection of America's first 7 astronauts, apparently. Okay. Interesting fact. So the first 7 astronauts were selected in 1959. So, dang, that's when you think about it, 61 years later, NASA's been having astronauts for 61 years. Okay. Well, we'll leave it at that. I think those were some interesting facts on this day. And I'm going to click over to my little promo real fast. So, if you ever need any personal training, customized apparel, follow the podcast, health and wellness seminars, and then we're always wanting to help people. So if you have assistive devices like walkers, wheelchairs, rollators, bedside commodes, things like that, that aren't in use, and you're wanting to get them to someone that can use them, low income, then go ahead and hit me up. I'm trying to help people in that way. And then here in June, I'll have my yoga instructor certification, and I'm trying to get that to rehab facilities for drug addicts. That'll happen in June. So just waiting to see how this whole thing plays out, and hopefully we can start having fun and interacting with each other again. Bam. So, and if anybody sees my black eye, my wife did not, beat me up. I had a friend over, we were training, his foot slapped me across the face, and that was it. So,